The finale of Love Story JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette just aired. And if you weren't crying by the end, did you even watch it? Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are breaking down episode 9 of Love Story John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, the season finale titled Search and Recovery. This episode was emotional, devastating, and honestly one of the most beautifully done finales I've seen in a long time. So grab some tissues because we are getting into all of it. The reconciliation, the final moments, and that ending that left everyone speechless. Let's go. So if you remember where episode 8 left us, John and Carolyn had just had their most explosive argument yet. John walked out and didn't come back home that night. Things looked really, really bad for the couple. Episode 9 opens in the aftermath of that. The tension is still thick. Neither of them is fully ready to back down, but neither of them is fully ready to give up either. The show depicts them trying something that many couples in trouble try, marriage counseling. And interestingly, the counselor's suggestion is that they spend some time apart, give each other space to breathe and reflect. But here's the thing about John and Carolyn. They don't do things the conventional way. Instead of separating, like the counselor suggested, they end up spending the day together at a dive bar, just the two of them, drinking and talking like they used to. And honestly, it works. There's something really beautiful about seeing these two people who the whole world has an opinion about, just sitting in a quiet bar, being human together. One of the most touching parts of this episode is seeing both John and Carolyn turn to their families for guidance. John opens up to his sister Caroline, played by Grace Gummer, and it's a rare moment of vulnerability for his character. He's not the polished, charming public figure in this scene. He's just a brother asking his sister what to do. Meanwhile, Carolyn leans on her sister Lauren, played by Sydney Lemon, and their scenes together are genuinely heartwarming, especially knowing what's coming later in the episode. Both siblings deliver the same essential message: fight for each other, don't let this be the end. And that advice lands. The episode builds toward a really pivotal scene. Carolyn makes a rare public appearance to support John at a George magazine event. For anyone who has followed Carolyn's arc throughout this series, you know how significant that is. She always struggled with the public spotlight. Showing up for him in that way was her way of saying, I choose you. And then comes the moment that callbacks all the way to the very first episode of this series, their first date recreated at an Indian restaurant. Remember in the pilot when Carolyn mentioned a sign above her head? Episode 9 finally gives us the answer to what that sign says. She tells John it reads, please handle with care, not as tough as she looks. And in that moment, everything clicks for John. All the walls Carolyn had built, all the guardedness, all the times she seemed distant or difficult, it suddenly all makes sense. She wasn't cold. She was just someone who needed to be loved carefully. John realizes in that moment that she is his priority above the Senate ambitions, above the magazine, above everything. It is genuinely one of the most moving scenes of the entire season. And then the episode does something really bold. About 20 minutes before the end, the title card appears on screen, July 16th, 1999. If you know the history, you know what that date means, and the show doesn't try to soften it or delay it. It just lets that date sit there. The episode depicts the lead up to their final flight, John planning to fly Carolyn and her sister Lauren to Martha's Vineyard before continuing to Cape Cod for his cousin Rory Kennedy's wedding. The show is tasteful and restrained in how it handles what happens next. It doesn't dramatize the crash itself. Instead, it focuses on the aftermath, the search, the silence, the waiting, and then the recovery. The bodies of all three, John, Carolyn, and Lauren, are found by Navy divers on July 21st, 5 days after the crash, in the waters off Martha's Vineyard. The final sequence of this episode is quietly devastating. We see a funeral service for the three of them, with several characters who appeared throughout the season returning for this final goodbye, including John's cousin Anthony Radziwill, fashion designer Calvin Klein, and John's business partner Michael Berman. Ethel Kennedy, played by Jessica Harper, offers words of strength to Caroline. It's a small moment, but it carries enormous weight. And then the very last scene, Anne, one of the narrating voices throughout the series, delivers a reading at the service. Her words are intercut with a scene of her and Caroline scattering John and Carolyn's ashes into the ocean. The poem she reads speaks to the idea that the people we love don't truly leave us, that they live on in the wind, the stars, the sea. And just as those words land, the show cuts to one final image. John and Carolyn, together, on a beach. Peaceful, happy, in love. No paparazzi, no pressure, no tragedy, just them. And then fade to black. I'm not gonna lie, I needed a minute after that ending. What this show did so beautifully across 9 episodes is remind us that beyond the Kennedy legacy, beyond the tabloid covers, beyond the tragedy, these were just 2 people who loved each other deeply and imperfectly, and they deserved more time. The finale doesn't try to wrap everything up neatly. It honors the grief while also honoring the love. And that final beach image, that's the show's gift to the audience. One last look at them the way they would have wanted to be remembered. If this recap helped you make sense of the finale, please give this video a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the channel more than you know. Subscribe if you're new. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know how the finale hit you, and I'll see you in the next one.